we model differently for different kids, but it's also true that sometimes when we're modeling, we purposefully want everybody to see the same thing, you know? So that's why we don't differentiate 24/7, is because sometimes there's good reasons not to. One good reason not to is if everyone needs this experience right now, you know, then I'm not likely to give you the same experience if I do it at different times or in different ways. So just if I just don't differentiate at this moment, then we all get the same thing. And sometimes
instructional scaffolding.
Yeah. Yeah. So it could be that what I want is for everyone to be together in a big group, and I'm just not differentiating it, but it's purposeful. You know, student work sessions, that time when they're practicing what you've modeled and what you've provided by way of content and all that, that's my favorite time to do differentiation. And if you go the full route of differentiating content due to readiness and have different activities going, then you can call that a true tiered, you know, tiered lesson. And then that's what some folks have got stuck on. They've thought that differentiation equals tiered lessons. Well, tiered lessons are an example of, but they're not the only way. Thank goodness.
A lot of times people won't do it because they're like, that just takes too much time.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's true that tiered assignments are going to take longer, but all these other ways might not take any, you know, time at all. We had an interesting debate about this fifth section, formative assessment data. Somebody gave me a great example of how, like in a ticket out the door, they might have one kid ticket out the door one way and another kid ticket out the door another way. And I heard her explanation of that, and I thought, you know what, that is sound. You know, I agree. But I came into today sort of thinking, you really shouldn't differentiate during this formative assessment data collection. Only because what you get back then is just more confusing for you.
I feel like I want to know what they know.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. If you differentiate too much.
Overall.
Exactly. If you differentiate too much in the moments when you're trying to get data back, then you don't really know if the data you're getting back is because of a readiness issue or because of a process issue. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want it to get all confused. So, in general, I think that when you're doing formative assessment, it is good to keep everybody on the same page. Unless it's really easy, like I got 6 gifted kids, and then I got other kids, and I'm going to give the gifted kids like just a different part of the formative assessment. I mean, that makes sense to you. But if you are like just constantly differentiating the formative assessment, then you have to remind yourself of what was the task that I'm now looking at to see how they did, and that just becomes more confusing for you.
Okay.
But there's always
Well, it's like
exceptions.
when I did the math test, that place value one. Well, that was only given to 3 students though.
Oh,
Remember?
What about the summary closing? At the end of lessons, do you sometimes have some kids like remember and articulate what just happened in one way, and other kids do it in another way?
You could have, you know, some write down, some orally, you know, say, you know, what did you learn?
Yeah.
Was,
So sometimes we use this chart just to help folks who feel like they aren't differentiating, even though we know that they probably are. We just say, okay, well, think about what part of the class periods you're in, and particularly if you're in that time when kids are working, are they working in different ways on possibly different things with different content? One last thing, and then I think we will probably be out of time. We've talked about how to use this form, you know, possibly just keeping it in your mind, possibly hanging it up, possibly putting it, when you're collaboratively planning, having it, you know, posted somewhere as a reminder. But also, I would keep a little folder, and by no means would I have like folders for every kid. That's just, whoa, no. But I might have one folder, and I'll just call it Barbara's differentiation folder. And I would put that in the front of it. And then every now and then, when I'm like cleaning my room, and I'm looking around on the floor, or I'm working and I'm like, can I have that? Every now and then when there's something really great that is a result of my differentiation, and I can keep it, I might just keep it, just put it in here. But to do myself a favor, I would write the date on it, and then I'd also get this chart, and I'd say, okay, real quickly, Barbara, what kind is that? Well, that is changing process because of readiness. Okay, well, I'm gonna put the date on that then. And then what you have in the middle of the year, when they say it's time for you to come to speak with administrators and bring your artifacts about how you differentiate, you've built yourself a little, you could say, well, let's look at an example from September the 10th. Let's look at an example from, November the 8th or whatever. Because if I were having my conference time where I bring artifacts, I probably would be real nervous. I probably would leave thinking, seriously, did I not tell him my very best example? Like, I just forgot. So I would want to have something that's just talking points for me. Sort of like making note cards if you're about to give a speech or something.
That's one area too that a lot of times when we do conference with teachers, they're not able to discuss how to differentiate, because you'll ask that and it's like you freeze up. And it's like, I don't know. So having that's a great way to do it, to reference, to put in their notebook to keep up with it.
But I think when we're asked that question, we also are thinking, what elaborate thing have I done?
Right.
Instead of thinking,
It can
I differentiate all day long, but we don't real. I mean, we do it naturally and we don't even realize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've been critical of myself for that, but as I sit here and listen to this, I'm like,
And that's
you
exactly.
certainly
Don't you
is.
feel better? I
Myself
feel so
about
much
it.
better. But and one thing I've told my team is, anytime I see my kids doing good stuff, and I know that I've purposely differentiated, I go around and I take pictures.
Yeah.
So I can print them off and I can document it, so I can say, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You may not have seen it the minute you came in, but I do it.
You did it.
Right. So this isn't so much about changing practice as it is just recognizing practice through this language so that you can discuss it more clearly and collaboratively with folks.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
You did great.
thank you.
It was great.
I'll email the PowerPoint to you and you can share it if you'd like.
And while you're sitting, you can jot a thought down if you haven't already done that. Y'all can be my model group.
I
Oh.
Did you do the consciously?
I changed X because of Y.
That's just
Conscious.
It was consciously differentiate.